Before we get the panel started, all of us were sitting in the back room and we were having a chat. I thought that itself could have been a lively panel discussion out there. We were talking about such interesting topics. Given that we have a limited time, given that the focus is on how do we think about physical retail as we go into this, or as we have already entered this post-pandemic world, I have a set of questions that we can get started with, and as we progress, we could make it a more lively discussion. I'll start with Abhishek here. Abhishek, Pacific Malls, very different organization from some of the retailers out here. You represent the real estate part of the equation here. From that point of view, as you look forward and as you're going through this post-pandemic transition, how are you thinking about traffic which is coming to the mall, and how do you think about activating that customer base and bringing them back to the malls?
So, to clarify your question, are you asking me that has it been a challenge to get people back to shopping centers after the pandemic?
Or what are the things that you're doing to drive traffic or even manage traffic for that matter?
So, first, it was never a challenge to get people back because they never went anywhere. They stopped coming only because the government put in a lockdown. If there was, and the moment the lockdown lifted, the people were back in the shopping centers. In fact, I was just sharing an anecdote that there was a video viral of our mall that there are too many people in the mall just after the lifting of the lockdown. So in fact, we had the problem other way around. So that's one. And the second thing is a few basic hygiene things where we had to build confidence in people that we are, as a shopping center, following the basic protocols, the COVID protocols. If you are following that and maintaining those distances and the protocols, people were comfortable to come. And I mean, a shopping center is an amalgamation of a lot of brands. And everybody, post the lifting of the lockdown, all the brands put together were putting in many COVID protocols. And the communication to that effect was going out through various platforms, which built the customer confidence to a great extent. And we saw the customer coming back. Within a couple of weeks, people were back to the floor.
Thank you, Abhishek. Lalit, talking about V-Retail, Vishal, right? So given your broad footprint across the country and the focus on tier 2, tier 3 markets as well, how has your experience been in driving that in-store experience, especially post the pandemic? What changes have you made to drive traffic to your stores?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I see a good count of people here as well. And post-pandemic, this is one of the key things that gives us a great confidence that people are back. So, and as Abhishek said, I mean, we don't need to drive too much. People were already there. And we saw, I mean, definitely the customer base that we focus on and then we target on are little more value seeker and bottom of the pyramid and the middle side of the pyramid, the bulge of the pyramid. So I think those customers have always been, for them coming to a store or coming to a mall has always been a fun and an outing because they don't have too many places to visit in the small town. But yeah, I think people need that emotional touch. People need that one-on-one near the human being, being not only across monitor and at the mobile screens. So even if you don't do too many bad things, I think you attract people. And you could definitely try and bring in more or do more of the stuff. And it's more about the consumer experience. It's more about how do you create some marketing strategies so as to engage customer, bring them down on the floor. So engagement activities at the floor. Give them that, that one-on-one touch, that one-on-one feeling, interacting with them. And then we have seen a lot of behavioral changes coming in from the customer. Their frequency definitely have reduced post the pandemic or even during the pandemic that we saw. But yeah, overall, whenever people come in, they tend to buy more. They have started buying more because they are loving personalization. They are definitely loving personalization. They want more and more human touch. And then that also is coming from our team, from whatever improvement and learnings that we have had in those, in these times when we were alone and we didn't have too many customers and we didn't have those kind of problems to cater to. So we did a lot of process improvement, technology improvement, trainings and the team meetings and team briefings, wherein now the staff at the front end who meets the customer are able to give them the better experience. And that is the most important thing, followed by what is available, what product is available, because ultimately customer buys product and they want to, we have to give them the experience of, having the right product, right size, and also something which is looking smarter, which makes them look smarter. And how does our assistant, our fashion assistant, make them really look good? How do they become their fashion stylist? That's the whole game that has to work on. Because that's how physically you can impress the customer, and physically that customer will come pulling in towards you. So that is the most important thing. But I think overall, I think that this one thing I have to say is there's a big opportunity in retail for India, and at least for the smaller town and the mid-segment customer base. This business is going to become double. Within that 100% growth of business, how do you just retain your pie and increase your pie is more about the retailer, not the customer, and environment. So we need to work more and we need to work hard to get those customers in and drive more and more sales from those customers.
Thank you, Lalit. That was very insightful. One of the things that you touched upon was getting the employees to provide the right consumer experience. So I'm going to request Raghu to talk a little bit more about that, right, on what is that they're doing to enable the right consumer experience through the employees. How are they enabling employees to help provide that?
Good afternoon to all. See, the most important is that, as Lalitji said, that the customer has not gone away. Customer is still there. And customers' consumption was only down because of pandemic, which is going to come back. That is one side. Other side, most of the organized retail business is more into, the self-service kind of setup, right? Where the physical selling is less, whereas the product assortment management, merchandising management is very high. At the same time, the connect with the consumer, when a customer is walking into a store, they always expect, while the products are properly arranged or anything, they would like to have some kind of an engagement on what is new, what is special about the product, what's the kind of promotions are happening in the store, etc. So empowering the front end, especially the sales associates, is becoming one of the most important activity from retail operations side. When it comes to the pandemic and the post-pandemic, pandemic has impacted lives of across the category of people. So there is an element of health consciousness has definitely gone up across the length and breadth. So what from our group, what we did some little bit of extended coverage of the COVID impacted, any kind of treatments for across all the segments of people. I mean, right up to the the entry level executives in the store. And we have got for Landmark Group Foundation, which went ahead beyond what could the insurance could support if the expenses have gone beyond. So we were able to take it on case to case basis that we analyzed, and then we supported them also. So in the process, the HR is running a module of health campaign. How do we maintain the health? That is one part of it. The second part of is in terms of servicing the consumer. Definitely the digitalization is a focus area for us. And today, how do we empower the front-end sales executive apprised of what is the stock availability, right? If a customer is looking for a particular size that is missing, what should the customer do next? So the CRE has got on his mobile, what's the stock available, which is the nearest store which has got this particular size, and how fast we are able to deliver to the consumer, or even suggesting a consumer what are the kind of new set of combination of products that can be purchased, and clarify more queries which is coming from the consumers. And then, importantly, from the fashion retail point of view, educating the front-end staff in terms of product. Basically, they have to answer, because when we talk about a sustainability, we talk about eco denim washed denim. So what does it matter? We can put up a write-up, but in a retail store is limited space, and we have to do a productivity. We can't spend too much of time, space for communication. So it has ultimately the consumer will like to have information about it. So how do we communicate the reality behind it? So we empower and we run the modules digitally, which through the mobile application the sales associates can go through and answer these customers. So in multiple ways, actually, digitalization and communication, online communication with the staff is becoming an important point. And we have embraced the journey, but it's going to be a long journey to go. That's what we are doing today.
Thank you so much, Raghu. The next question is to Rishabh. Rishabh, as a business, you run end-to-end. You have your own manufacturing and you have everything all the way in between to retail and distribution, right? So one of the things that consumers get impacted by is stock outs at store, right? And that experience is something which they do not like. They like something, they go, it's not available in their size, right? So how are you managing that whole back end to make sure that it works seamlessly for you, right? Given that you have that control of that supply chain.
A fabulous question. I wish I had the answer to how to solve that. I think supply chain currently is the biggest challenge that a lot of us are facing, especially for my business where I'm working with a lot of international brands. So while there is a lot of sourcing happening domestically, but we were still dependent, pre-COVID, brands were still dependent on a lot of imports, right? And COVID has taught us that that is really disrupting the supply chain. So I think we are trying our best to use technology, to try and get products, the right products in at the right time. But there's a lot more dependence on Indian manufacturing to get it faster. Right. So that is, that's the tailwinds that we are seeing as because of the pandemic. And I think retailers will get it right. Retailers are hungry. They've gone through enough pain, not just COVID, but even a couple of years prior to COVID. And now we are seeing, generally we are seeing strong tailwinds and good demand, like everybody's talking about. Customers are back. There is this thing. So I think we will get it right sooner than later. But there are some things that time will take. It will take time to set the supply chains correctly. But technology will go a big way in trying to solve this issue also. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Rishabh. So my next question is to Darpan. Darpan, you run a very different operation in terms of the format and the location of various stores are based, right? So you really managed to capitalize on that high street experience, which is very different from the mall experience out there, right? So which Abhishek represents here. So can you talk a little bit about how that high street experience is playing out and how do you see that evolving in the future?
When you say location, is Punjab a positive or negative?
Absolutely positive. It's one of the highest consuming states out there.
Because Punjab, I come from Punjab, which takes care of 4 to 6 seasons, So our state is the biggest consumption state for fashion, as far as the fashion is concerned. And thankfully, we always believed in ourselves. We did not went ahead with the waves of the mall, which were coming in 10, 15 years back. In these panel discussions only, there were discussions 10 years back that what will happen if the malls come and high street will finish, people will go into air-conditioned environment. Thanks, apologies to Abhishek, but yes, we found we believed in ourselves. We always kept high street as a preferential place to retail our brands. we did not change our strategy. And today we are successful. In COVID, you know, malls, they got a permission to open much later than what high streets were there. So we were lucky enough, brand also realized that Punjab is an open market, they are opening and the COVID restrictions are less. We got good merchandise, our sales during COVID has increased. Like we are growing as compared to last pre-COVID or post-COVID, whatsoever it is. Our sales are going steadily. During COVID only, we opened 6 stores, you know. We did not stop opening the stores. We kept on opening stores. And all of the stores were successful, you know. So this is how it happens that you keep doing what you believe in, and obstacles will come in every this thing. If there is a COVID, there may be some other obstacle, some other season, some other year. So we did well, and this is what we believe in. That's it. Like.
Thank you, Darpan. Thanks for your insights there. Rajesh, I want to come next to you. I want to learn a little bit more about how you are driving consumer targeting, right? Both for your online and your store. And has that changed post-pandemic? What are some of the tools that you deploy? Just wanted to learn a little bit more about that.
Sure. Thank you, Praveen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, first of all, I would like to explain, which I believe that all the retail guys already know. Why do customers come to your physical stores? So, there is no doubt that in the past decade or so, online has been growing by leaps and bounds. With the easy availability of internet, now the customers, even before they enter your store or go online to buy your product, they have already made up their preferences that what kind of product they want to buy and what kind of brand they want to buy. In the pandemic also, we saw that online started growing at a very fast speed because of the reason that all the offline stores were shut. Now, this reminds me of a saying by Aristotle. He said that man is by nature a social animal. And I'm a firm believer of that because it has been proved subsequently the moment lockdown started lifting after the second wave, consumers started coming back to the physical stores also. Now, the question is that why do consumers come back to the stores? My belief is that there are 3 reasons. One is the touch and feel. The customers come back to the physical store to see, to touch the product, to feel the product, to try it out on them. And once they like the product, they don't want to wait even for a day and they want to immediately own that product. Second reason I believe is interaction with real humans. I think most of us have got sick of interacting with that IVR or online medium or screens. So that's why the customers come back to the physical stores also. And the third and the most important reason, which I believe has become very, very important now after the COVID, is socializing. All of us were missing socializing. I think most of us who are here today, they're very happy coming to a physical event after a very, very long time. Isn't that so? Socializing, in my belief or in my thought process, has become the new fashion. People don't go to a mall or to a high street just to buy the product. They want to socialize. They want to eat. They want to shop. They want to have entertainment. But biggest of all, they want to meet each other. These are the 3 most important reasons that why customers come back to physical stores. Now, how do we as retailers drive it? Before me, I think most of the panelists, they said that it's happening automatically. They're very happy. They don't, like Abhishek also said, Lalit also said, Raghu also said the same thing, Rishabh also to some extent said the same thing, and Darpan also said the same thing. But I think what happens is that retailers, as a community, is a very dynamic community. When e-com started hitting us sometime in the mid of 2014, we all thought that it's going to be the end of physical retail. But soon we realized that e-com is an important and beautiful channel of distribution, and we started joining hands. We are so dynamic that we immediately adapted to that. Similarly, when COVID happened, we all thought that this is kind of an end of world. But retailers immediately realized that we have to sustain this period. Profitability is not the problem right now. We have to sustain this period. Profitability can come later. And we sustained together as a team. Developers also helped the retailers, and retailers also went a few miles ahead. Similarly, lot of other things that are happening while the customers are coming back is not happening automatically, is my belief, because I'm a firm believer in the thought that nothing happens automatically on its own other than what the God has gifted us. We can feel hungry automatically, we can sleep automatically, we can grow automatically, but nothing else happens which is man-made automatically. What has happened is that it has got so ingrained in our thoughts that we don't even think that we are doing something about it. In my view, there are three things, again, which I think most of retailers are doing, which is driving the customers back to the stores and online also. First is customer service. I will emphasize more on the physical retail here right now because we're talking about the physical retail in this session. So first is customer service. When I talk about customer service, as I said, that customers want human interaction. Two more things which are very, very important here is, one is relationship building, and B, art of storytelling. We go to any retailer, there is a certain degree of storytelling in that store when you visit there, which storytelling cannot be explained or cannot be narrated so beautifully when you go online. Relationship building, unless and until there is a physical touch, it's very unlikely that you will be able to build a long-term relationship with a customer. Of course, you can entice them with some discount so that they can come and buy online, but not a relationship building. Second is innovation and technology. Raghu also raised it, Shirshab also said, a lot of other panelists also said the same thing. Innovation and technology are extremely important, but when I talk about technology, I'm talking about the technology that can be used beautifully now in the physical stores also. For example, CRM is one thing that all of us have adopted. Now this is technology. We have adopted it and we don't even think twice about this thing. This is how we communicate with the customers. We digitize the things in such a manner that A, it should deliver us ROI also, and it should be acceptable to the customers. Innovation in terms of products, in terms of how the customers move within the stores. They should be able to move freely. It shouldn't be so cramped up that the customer is not even able to move. This is the second point about innovation technology. And the third and a very important point in my view is focused marketing. With the help of CRM and with the help of our online websites and other data available, most retailers are now doing targeted marketing. They don't keep on advertising just in the hope that someday our customer will be able to look at it. We know that our customer is this, we have to target that customer only. So given all these three things, I think it has ingrained so much in our life that we don't even think that we are doing something extra, and that is what is driving the customers back to the stores. And this is my net takeout on this. I think obviously online and offline are two beautiful channels, and they will continue to coexist for a very, very long time in a country like India. But it's not happening automatically. Customers definitely are coming. One more thing I would just like to add at the end of this. A lot of people are saying that this is a revenge buying. This is a pent-up demand. My view is quite different here. I think this is sustainable demand. This is sustained demand. This is likely to remain at least for the next 3 to 4 years. This is what we saw after the recession in 2008-9 when we thought that everything is down and out. But immediately after that, most brands, most retailers saw that for next 3 to 4 years, the sales went up pretty high. Similarly, after demonetization, I think retail was one industry that was hit very hard. But after that, when the growth came, it came in a sustained manner. Similarly, now after COVID, when we have suffered for the last 2 years, now we see that the demand is coming back. I believe that this is a sustained demand and this will last at least for the next 3 to 4 years. And then obviously we'll think of the next steps. Thank you.
No, I was just trying to say Rajesh ke muh mein ghee shakkar. So, but yeah, so definitely I think there is a large fill in the blanks which is yet to be filled. Customers' wardrobe is very old. They have not really bought for the last 2 years very nicely. So they will definitely want to buy more. Still, whatever growth that we are seeing is inflation-led growth. So beware, everyone. This is pure inflation-led growth. We haven't still seen a real quantitative growth, which is also supposed to come, which we should expect and which will come. But yes, we will have to be very watchful. Inflation is also creeping in. That is a big problem for us. And as retailer, as Amitabh, you've written here, so purposeful, pioneering, and profitable. So I think profitability is the key word that also has to be kept in mind.
No, he's absolutely right. Of course, when I talk about the growth on the top line, yes, the top lines are growing, but at the same time, there is huge pressure on the bottom line because the costs have gone up so high that most of us are reeling under the pressure of logistics cost, the raw material cost. I'm sorry, Abhishek, but yes, the occupancy cost is also going up significantly. So So were we so boring or we were able to explain everything? I know. Most of them are sleeping, I can see.
If people don't have a question, maybe we could have a suggestion. I'll walk down.
Thank you, sir. So while you were mentioning that, demand is there and there is a pent-up demand and it's going to be sustainable, on the other side, the churn is also very high. So the churn of the customer is also very high. So what do we do about that? What are your views on that?
You mean the customers don't come again and again?
Customers are actually not coming back.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah,
coming again and again.
yeah.
See, there are certain things that you have to do other than the short-term tactics. Unfortunately, what we have seen, and that's what I had just explained, that we have got used to the idea of short-term tactics of discounts. When you give discounts, whether online or offline, I'm sure that most of the retailers see that the demand shoot up multi-X. That is not the strategy. Long-term strategy has to be that you have to build a brand, and brand cannot be built in a day or two. It takes time. So you have to ensure that the brand, the moment the brand comes, the customer knows that I need to go to that brand for this product. For example, if a customer wants to buy a polo, although I hope that I'm not saying anything, but they know that if they want to buy a premium polo, they have to visit a Lacoste store. If they want to buy a burger, and even before entering a McDonald's store, they know that what kind of taste that they can expect when they go inside. Similarly, when they buy a product, they should already know that what kind of product they will get and what they should expect from that product. This is what will be the brand building over a period of time, and then only the customers will keep coming back to you again and again. In fact, I'm perhaps not the right person to ask the question because we have very high percentage of repeat customers. Our repeat customers are as high as more than 60%. So perhaps I'm not the right question because maybe, as you said, the brand has been built over the last 85, 90 years in such a manner that the customers have become very, very, I don't use the word loyal because there is nothing called loyalty now. I say the customers have a trust upon the brand. And that trust has to be created by every retailer so that the customers keep coming back to you again and again.
So I think on the counter side, the repeats of the customers have gone up. Ma'am, you need to check your data. The churn is not increasing. The churn at the employee side is definitely increasing, but the customer side, it is sticking. And as Rajesh said, the retailers have to really do a lot to retain the customer, to impart that kind of trust and take some action where there is a relationship person who understand and who works with the customer, who talks to the customer, who communicate to the customer and is able to simultaneously be there at the floor when the customer walks in. And for the matter, at V-Mart we started a program called Happiness Agent. So we are yet to get to the agent, but how do you really connect that staff to the customer, and that customer becomes the owner of those, that staff becomes the owner of those kind of customers, and that is how relationships get built. And whenever you take care of the customer, customer definitely will take care of you.
One last question, if there is anything. No? If there is any.
Anish will not allow any more questions for sure.
All right, come on. One last question.
I know.
Hello. What would you suggest for a D2C? Hi, I'm Shrishti. I started a D2C brand 3 years back and it got a big hit because of COVID. Wanted to understand your opinion on how to a D2C brand enter a physical store and what are the complications entering a brand from physical to a digital world, which is more preferable and which is easier to get into the omni-channel concept?
I think it's very easy. Good product at good prices, giving a very good supply, definitely will make roads for all the three. So is a fundamental point, and I think the product has to speak by itself. A D2C brand or a product or a manufacturer, definitely the vendor is very important to any kind of retailer, and the whole backbone for a retailer is the manufacturer. So and the brands which we sell. So I think you've got lot of avenues to place yourself at the physical store, and if your products are good, well attributed, well defined, and are attractive enough so that you could come out to the online world in the same way, I think you can definitely lead yourself into omni-channel. And then most of the retailers are omni right now, so it's not a challenge anymore.
I think to add to that, we've done a pilot where we are inviting the D2C brands specifically to do pop-ups in the mall. And we provide them the space, so you bring in your product and you display your product. We do a commercial understanding on the amount of sale you do. And if it works for you and you see the market growing, then you gradually convert into a regular shop. Otherwise, you continue as a pop-up, you test the market. If the brand and the customers accept you, then it works.
Thank you so much. This is a very lively, interesting panel. Appreciate all the panelists for joining us here today. Thank you.